Tuesday morning means it is once again time for the Boroughs. I'm Kevin Bunk, joined by Michael Merlo every Tuesday. That may be changing after this week, though, so just stay tuned. We'll throw something on the Instagram to let you know if that is changing. 11 a.m. every Tuesday. You can also catch this on Spotify just soon after, always up before 1. Mike, a lot to talk about today. A lot to talk about. Aaron Judge is going to get the spotlight today, as he has all summer. We have 2 potential New York MVPs. I'm finally coming around to your Lindor is top 2 take, and I don't think it's impossible for him to win, say Ohtani had a slump or an injury. But the Yankees, they're number 1 in the power rankings again. First time in a couple months. They have a 2-game lead over the Orioles for the 1 seed for the AL East. What is your take on the state of this Yankees team right now after a couple strong weeks?
Yeah, I was watching the game last night and kind of get that sense that, they're back. They're playing well. They're playing with confidence. I mean, you talk about, Judge and Soto. They're having just 2, we've talked about it so many times. We've given you the stat, the Babe Gehrig stat. Like, it's unbelievable what they've been doing, and Soto is getting seriously overlooked by Aaron Judge, but they kind of feel like they're playing with this confidence. They're going to get Jason Dominguez up here for the September call-ups to give them more depth in that outfield. They're just rolling right now. I saw your tweet last night about Nestor Cortez, him pitching like this, where, listen, you had a little question about the rotation in the second half. That's been big for them. Garrett Cole, obviously, being more comfortable, getting set. I think he's out of that, beginning of the season mode, spring training mode we kind of said he was in when he just came back. It seems like things are rolling for this team right now. And, in terms of the AL East, I definitely feel as though the Yankees I feel much more confident about the Yankees than Baltimore.
And baseball season is so funny, right? This is what I was thinking all day before the show and last night. 2 months ago or 2.5 months ago, we're sitting here on that West Coast trip where the Yankees just dominated. Soto hit the walk-off at San Francisco. Not the walk-off, but the game winner in the 9th against San Francisco. And the vibes were incredible. This was a team that we thought was not going to be slowed down all year, and their big fall would only happen if it did in October. And now we just went through these 2 months of this team's horrible. They were at points where you were saying they might not even make the playoffs because of how hot the Red Sox had gotten, who now, Jack Leiden, who now that team sucks, the Red Sox. Oh, my God. They haven't won it feels like they haven't won since the All-Star break. And they're way out of it now. So Mike's going to get $50 on that nice bet with a good friend of ours. And the Red Sox are out of it, but there were times where I was sitting here saying the only thing I turn it on for is Aaron Judge, who has not slowed down at all. But now we're back to this point because baseball is just that long marathon of a year where I'm sitting here very excited about the Yankees rest of the season. I can't wait to watch the game tonight because now that everyone's healthy for the most part, you have, once again, a lineup that feels really good. Gleyber Torres is hitting 300 in the month of August. Soto is an MVP in any other year. Judge is going to be a unanimous runaway MVP the way he's playing. You have Stanton, who is just the stat you sent me yesterday. We could talk about that for a second. The Stanton effect, that when he's in the lineup, the Yankees are 57-31. When he's out of the lineup, they're 20-23. So you're 26 games over 500 with Stanton, who's not even great or not even very good, but with his presence in the middle of the order, you're 26 over 500. Without him, you're 3 under 500. So Stanton obviously has a huge impact. When Jazz Chisholm is playing, he feels like he adds such an athleticism and run-creating ability to the Yankees. So with all these guys healthy, and then Rizzo's going to be coming back in a few weeks, and I'm not here to forget about how bad Rizzo was when he had gotten injured, but he will be an upgrade defensively and offensively from LeMahieu and Rice. So the Yankees have things going for them now that we'll see if it lasts. I think 5 weeks left in the season here is still a long time, but finally there's some positivity here and there's a lot of different ways to bring it out.
Wells also forgot him. He's been just unbelievable as the protection for those two guys, for Judge and Soto. Just kind of shocking with the way the season started for him. The fact that he's hit so well and done such a great job behind the plate. That's huge. Volpe, I think you mentioned all these guys stepping up, and the lineup looks long and the lineup looks scary. It does 100%. It kind of takes pressure off of Anthony Volpe. Like, hey, listen, he should be better, right? He's your top prospect. We've talked about the pressure that he's dealt with coming up in terms of the Yankees not trading for certain guys, not trading him for anybody, not signing anybody because he was coming to play shortstop. You'd like him to be better. But we saw Aaron Boone in his defense on John Boy's podcast a couple of weeks ago, where he defended him, saying he still plays a really good defense for us. He's hitting, around, 250, 260, and he's a great base runner. So he also is able to get more comfortable in the major leagues as well when there's less pressure on him to be one of the main focal points of the offense.
You also had, I want to just mention over the weekend before I forget, total sidebar, Old Timers Day. How come they don't play a game anymore? Don't you think that's weird? They're
that's
not playing
really
games for Old
interesting
Timers Day anymore?
Because it's really weird, and like I kind of understand the point of, well, you want it to be so special every time they play, but like when's the last time they did it? It's not like they're doing it every year.
No, it's been a few years.
So
now.
Why not play the game? Do the players not want to play? Like that would be the
Jeter
only
said he
thing.
wouldn't. Jeter said he wouldn't, so I'm assuming he's not alone in that. But also with Saturday's Old Timers Day,
Jeter's a loser.
All right.
Why are we not? Come on. Put on a glove, put on a uniform, and go out there and play 3 innings of ball, Derek. Come on.
I mean, he should. I agree with that. And he is a little, lame as a personality with the fans and just with the, I don't even know like how to put it into words, but you know what I'm saying? But It's all right because he won 5 rings, 6 all-time hits, and
Loser.
I think Yankee fans are all right with him at this point, but it feels a little odd that in 2009, the last time they won a World Series, the only time in my lifetime was the Old Timers Day this year. That was a weird feeling because all these guys I grew up with, A-Rod, Jeter, Posada, Rivera, Pettit, CeCe, all back for Old Timers Day. Didn't like that.
You feeling a little old.
Not even old, but just like, when the hell are we going to win one here?
All right.
We're there every year.
Chill out. You get
We're there every year. Sorry, Mets fans, for sounding spoiled. We're there every year. Can we even get into one? This is the year, though. This is the year. This past week, let's get back on that track. This past week has showed me that this is the year because it's all coming together for the Yankees right now.
This last week against the Rockies and the Nationals have convinced you that this team's going to the World Series?
Dude, it's serious competition. Giuseppe told me about Rocktober all summer.
Please, Rocktober. Enough of Rocktober.
How long has Bud Black been their manager?
Good for him for keeping a job, holding down a job.
Oh, my God.
A lot of people can learn from him, man. That's impressive.
How long has since 2017? Yeah, so I felt like he was, and he just keeps signing 1-year deals with them. What does he do to warrant another 1-year deal?
Nobody wants to manage there. Nobody wants to play there.
That's what it is.
Disgusting.
That's what it is. Is he's your best option when comparing the field, and he's comfortable there. The ownership's probably comfortable with him. But that's I'm looking at him the other day, and I'm thinking for both sides here, don't they want to split? Maybe get a younger manager in there to try and create a spark, and for Bud Black, maybe go somewhere where there's players that can play.
Hey, Bud Black likes Colorado.
That team is horrible.
Yeah, they're not a great team.
Chris Bryant, all-time bad signing. We talked about, our Instagram video about Chris Bryant from April still gets a lot of interaction. I think we're well over 100,000 interactions on that, and he just doesn't even play. It's not even like he fell off and now he just stinks like Javi Baez.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant doesn't even play.
No, he either doesn't play or he's hurt. Like then he's on the IL.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I don't know what the fix is there. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you rebuild that organization? No pitcher wants to go there. you have to draft and develop pitching. We know how difficult that is. Like, and then if you are going to sign a pitcher, you have to overpay big time. Like, it is just almost an impossible situation. I think about it a lot, actually, when I think about that team. How did they win? How did they ever have any sort of like, sustained success in the past? Because they've been in the playoffs, a few years in our lifetime. It honestly shocks me.
They had that team where obviously they were able to hit and they had good enough pitching, but they had that team with Arenado, Tulowitzki, Carlos Gonzalez, DJ LeMahieu was young, and they had that team where most of the guys on it, because LeMahieu, Arenado, Tulowitzki all went somewhere else and showed that they weren't a product of Colorado. Carlos Gonzalez was a total product of Coors Field because he never was able to play anywhere else. But they had those teams that were able to hit, and they were the best offenses in the league because they actually had a few players that could hit on the road. Their home road splits, they were showing them this weekend on Yes, they're the best home offense in the league, which is no surprise to anyone. Best home offense in the league since coming into the league in 1992, and then the worst road offense in the league since 1992. So that disparity is just unfathomable. Like you really have to comprehend. I know you do, but fans really have to understand just how much of an effect that park has on their hitters.
They have a couple of young guys too, not to, go full blown Colorado Rockies. Like, they do have a few young offensive pieces where you're like, all right, like I've watched them a lot because the Mets played them like twice in a month. So like they have that kid Tovar who's good. Brenton Doyle is a good player in center. McMahon is just any ball hit to him, he absorbs it and makes a good throw to first. And they have that big ass first baseman that just hits tanks. Toglia.
Yeah, speaking of big ass first baseman, did you see Rowdy Tellez pitching?
I did
Either
not.
last night or the night before.
I did not.
Man, that's must see. And the umpire was so fed up because Rowdy was just throwing these 40 mile an hour.
I did see that. That was him that was pitching that.
That was him
egregious call.
And the umpire's just calling strikes.
Yeah.
And the hitters are all looking at him like, come on, man. Because, the hitters obviously care about that at bat because their stats are on the line.
Yeah.
But Rowdy Tellez is just throwing these 40 mile an hour lobs a foot away from the plate, and the umpire's just ringing up batters because he's totally fed up with the way the game's going.
How about this, to go completely off topic, talking about big guys? Did you see this player on the Guardians? I'm not going to try and pronounce his first name, Noel. They call him Big Christmas because his first name like translates to something related to Christmas in whatever language he speaks.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this guy. I thought you meant like he was big, heavy, like
no, like this
chubby
guy.
No, he was
a tank.
Noel, what's his first name? Oh yeah, John. It's like Jan Kensi or something.
He's on my fantasy team. That's all I know, and he's a beast. And his nickname's Big Christmas. I absolutely love. It's the greatest nickname of all time.
Yeah, no, he's been very good. I'm trying to look up his numbers here, but yeah, I saw it's a good nickname.
October.
Big Christmas. Guardians. I'm feeling if we're doing really reactionary last week and a half takes, I'm feeling like the Guardians are no longer a World Series contender.
Yes, that series against the Yankees is disheartening if you were one of those people. I did see the Yankees were 22-6. Is this correct against the AL Central thus far?
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, this AL Central, and I have been on the AL Central for 3 or 4 years now about this. It's not just the Yankees either. It's the Astros, and the Yankees have the best record against them. But in the postseason, it's Houston. It's been in the past. It's been Toronto. It's been Tampa Bay. But it's whoever gets them. They're not a competitive division. They're an unserious division. And right now, I don't even worry that this is going to come back to bite me. I'll just say it. I'm so glad that Minnesota and Kansas City are holding those last 2 wild card spots and Boston is out because Boston scares me so much more than either of those 2 teams.
Kevin and I had this like major argument on our radio show last October, and I was almost right because Minnesota did win a playoff series last year for the first time.
Yes.
They beat Toronto. And I was like, you know what? I have this weird feeling that they're going to beat Houston and they're finally going to go on a run. And then they didn't. Kevin ended up being right. But I was waiting for that. I was waiting to cash in my checks there.
Yeah. No, they're no good. The AL Central. And last year, the Twins win that series, but it's a wild card round against the Toronto team that we can see today is just not very good the last 2-3 years. And obviously this year they've taken a huge step back.
Yep.
But the AL Central, this is who you want to play in the playoffs. You want Cleveland, you want Kansas City, you want Minnesota. And I also think, to go along with that, how many teams do you fear in that division going to their place? Put yourself in the shoes of the Yankees or the Astros or the Orioles. All of those teams have pretty fierce home field advantages. Baltimore with that left field wall, when they pack the place out, they're very hard to beat there. Houston never loses at home, and Yankee Stadium's a madhouse in the playoffs. And with the short porch and the numbers down the line, how easy it is to hit a home run down the line there, the Yankees feast on that. And then you have the AL Central. Nobody cares about going to Kauffman Stadium to play the Royals. Nobody cares about going to Minnesota. Minnesota actually just gets smoked at home in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Cleveland is not an easy place to win, but it's not one of the harder, difficult places. You know what I mean? It's not up there with Houston.
Yeah, the only one I was going to say is maybe Cleveland, and that's just because they've played so many postseason games there, in the last, 7-ish years. They've played a lot of playoff games there, and we've seen that stadium get loud. We've seen them in the World Series. So, that's the only home field advantage I think actually matters in the AL Central. You're 100% right, though. The only advantages all these teams have besides Houston is that you're playing in the cold in October. These are all cold weather cities.
And now this year, the only slight difference is I think the pitching for Kansas City and Bobby Witt are very good at home compared to fairly average on the road. So that is something with Kansas City that you can point out and say there is why you'd want them on the road. You maybe fear them at home a little bit. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's really not a concern going on the road to any of those parks.
But if we're talking about this from a standpoint of, well, who should the Yankees fear in the postseason, right? You can make the argument it's nobody. I absolutely do not fear Baltimore. Baltimore, and I saw it up close and personal last week. Their bullpen is atrocious. Their starting rotation is atrocious. That team is not to be trusted whatsoever in the postseason. They are not a good ball club at the moment. They still have some holes, actually, offensively. They're not this perfect, great, well-oiled machine on offense. So I just think they're slightly overrated at this point. If there's one team you're afraid of, and it's because of history, and it's because of the way they've been playing too, and that's Houston, obviously, right? Houston has really gotten hot here. They've gotten a nice lead in the AL West. If there's a team the Yankees are going to be scared of, hey, we'd rather not play them, it's Houston. It'll probably end up coming down to Houston and the Yankees in the ALCS this year.
And you look at that Baltimore lineup, I'll touch on that for a second. I'm going to throw the numbers out here for a moment. Let's throw out the numbers and just talk about guys that I truly am afraid to pitch to in that Baltimore order, which we had thought, and many had thought because of the way they played 2 months ago. As I said before, very long season. Funny how opinions change. But 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, we say beginning of June, we looked at this lineup and said this is the best in baseball, and there's 1 through 9, not a guy you want to pitch to. But now, I go through it again. Austin Slater, I'll pitch to him in the playoffs, man. Yeah, I'll pitch Austin Slater in the playoffs.
Sure.
Adley, here's the thing with Adley. Best hitter on their team, but I don't worry about him hurting me with the home run ball. So he's a little bit of a less intimidating hitter than Judge, Soto, Altuve, Bregman, Jordan, Tucker, just compared to the rest. I still don't like pitching to Gunnar at all. I don't care about the summer he's had. Don't like pitching to Gunnar at all. Santander scares me the most out of their entire lineup. I think he's a really underrated hitter. He's got great power. He can hurt you in a bunch of different ways. So there's a great hitter, and he's a switch. And then the rest of the lineup, I mean, they just this weekend against Houston, they were rolling out Eloy Jimenez, Colton Cowser, Emmanuel Rivera, Ramon Arias. Jackson Holiday's coming along, so we'll see how he plays the rest of the month, but the rest of the year for the final month. You have guys like Ryan O'Hearn. I just don't. James McCann plays a good amount there.
Yeah, listen, you disrespected two names there.
All right,
Ryan O'Hearn, solid ball player. Okay,
good ball player, but I'm not scared to pitch to him in the playoffs.
Colton Cowser, the milkman, he's the man.
Yeah, Cowser. All right, Cowser. Yes, but Cowser.
All right, but I guess like scared to pitch to him. I'm not really scared to pitch to anybody at this point. Only Santander, who, by the way, Santander, you're going to look at Santander's contract this offseason and go, wow, he got that much, but he deserves it. You're 100%. You hit that on the head. He is an awesome, awesome player.
That's a guy. Listen, man, if you want to get serious without giving Soto a $420 million contract,
I thought you about to say this.
Let's get Burns and Santander.
You want to hear something funny? I was with my buddy. We went to the Mets-Orioles game Wednesday afternoon, and we sat in front of these Oriole fans, and they were great. So funny, like piss your pants funny. And so it's like middle of the game. Like I tapped the guy on the leg, and I go, this guy in Burns is going to be wearing blue and orange next year. You know that, right? And they were like, screw you. We don't want to lose Burns to you guys. We might lose Burns to you guys. I was like, it might happen. I'm like, Stevie's going to make one call to David. Hey, go get him. And that's it. That's what I want.
And listen, Santander, you're not getting a far worse hitter than the best hitters in the league, like Soto. I know Soto's one of a kind. He's got 8 million walks this year, and the next guy after Judge has like 60. I get it. But Santander is very good, and you're going to get him at a third of the price, which is still a lot of money. You're going to look at that and say, wow, Santander got that much? Wow. But it's not going to be close to what Soto gets.
If Soto's 500, but you got him for 5 years, 150, you're like, all right, let's go.
Exactly. And how old is he?
I think he's up there in age, so it's obviously a shorter term deal, but yeah, it's still like I'm down. I love Anthony.
He's 29.
I love Anthony Santander. Let's go.
He's 29. He'll be 30 by the start of next season. So you get him for 4 years.
5 years, 140. Burns 8 years, 310. Bang, done. Let's go.
For Cohen, that's a great low risk, high reward offseason because you don't care about that big short term money.
No, not really. Burns, you're like, all right, here we go. But I could see Burns
also
being great.
Way off topic. Off topic.
Oh, God.
I was going to mention this to you before we started. We were talking a little NFL while we were getting ready, while I was getting the graphics ready and everything. Did you see Andrew Thomas is throwing out the first pitch at a Somerset Patriots game? The Yankees AAA affiliate. Can he get to a major league game?
Why is he doing that? There has to be some kind of deal. It has to be some kind of deal. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It is with Monmouth trading cards, it looks like.
Guy's a top 5 left tackle in football. We can't get him to Yankee Stadium.
Like, I'm sure that Monmouth Trading Cards is giving him money for this. I don't know what their social media presence is like, but they have 150 followers on Twitter. That's less than what BTO has on social media. So, BTO, we can't get Andrew Thomas to throw a first pitch at a Ducks game.
Can Andrew Thomas come on here, you think?
Maybe. If he's going to the Somerset Patriots game. This guy's a top 3 offensive tackle in football playing for the New York Giants. We can't get him to the Yankees game or even the Mets. The lowly Mets can't get him. You got Hawk Tua. You got Hawk Tua throw the first pitch. You can't get Andrew Thomas to do it.
Crazy. What did you think of that? I was away. What did you think of that?
I thought it was just stupid by the Mets. I don't really care enough to like really be upset about it. I'm not very upset about it because I could care less, but the Mets have too much gimmicky stuff for me. Like, you got Grimace all year, you got Hawk Tua. It's kind of childish at a point when we're trying to be taken as this serious organization. You know, I'm not a Mets hater either. I'm dying to see them get to the playoffs here. But at a point, they got the only thing I was really cool with this year was OMG, because that was a player on the team made it, and that was awesome, and that's a great rallying cry. Why do we need Grimace? Why did we even invite Hawk Tua? Who's doing the public relations for them, saying let's do that? And wasn't it Kids Camp Day or something? And there were am I wrong? Wasn't it Kids Camp Day?
I think there were. Yeah, I think it was like the last day of camps. Like
and there were just a bunch of elementary
trips.
school age camps there. Come on, man. That was a bad one. That's a bad, not big enough to overreact, but on the small scale, that was very poorly done.
Yeah, like I can't disagree with much of what you're saying. I didn't have a problem with it. Like, I don't necessarily care that she was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, we've been to baseball games the past 2 seasons now. There's like 6 different first pitches, like, how many people actually throw out the ceremonial first pitch? There's like, at least at Citi Field, I don't know how it is at Yankee Stadium. There's like literally 3 different, and I'm not even exaggerating. There are 3 different groups of people that throw out the first pitch. So,
and none of them can be Andrew Thomas.
And I'm saying to myself, like, I don't really care that Hawk Tua threw out the first pitch, but like, yeah, I get it. I love the people calling up and complaining, though. I got to explain this to my kid. No, you don't. You don't have to explain it. Lie to your kid. Lie to the goddamn kid.
Just say she was in a TV show.
Yeah. A TV show called Hawk Tua. That's
or
it.
You could even just say, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
But, I get that on Kids Camp Day, maybe Hawk Tua wasn't the best choice for throwing the first pitch, especially when I think it's probably easier than you'd expect to get a first pitch candidate. You can get different charities to come throw.
Well, she was there for charity. That's why
I know, but it's still not.
No, I know.
Still not this great look. You can get Andrew Thomas, who's doing Yankees AA games. That's an easy grab. Is Andrew Thomas? You can get any athlete from the other 900 sports teams we have in the city.
Yeah, but then we got Salicata on the major radio station screaming and yelling about this like a loser, saying,
"Yeah, well,
the Yankees have Ruth and Mantle and Judge, and the Mets have Grimace and like, please shut your mouth. Like, just stop talking."
Yeah, if he's screaming about it, it's probably not as big of a deal as he's making it. That's become his MO. But here, I don't really care too much. I just think the Mets, if they want to be taken as this serious organization, you have to take a second look at everything you're about to do. So if you think, oh, she's an internet sensation, she's here for a charity, from what I understand, she actually is very charitable. She has a moment on social media as the Hawk Tua girl that makes her seem like she might be trashy, and I have no idea who she is.
No,
what she's
by,
like.
By all accounts, seems like a really good human being.
Because I've seen people doing, she's donating a bunch of money to food drives and doing a lot of charitable stuff. So she's there with the charity. But I think the Mets, if they want to be taken seriously here, you have to kind of do a double take and say, well, how can this go wrong for us? And how could this be a bad look for us? The Mets have to do that. The Jets and Giants have to do that. Because when you're not winning, you can't add anything to that negative stigma that your team has.
Right. And
they
they were losing. Like, they were not playing well at that point either, which I think really added to it. Like, They weren't bad, but they had lost the game to the A's and then blew a 5-0 game that day. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you a question about the Yankees quick before we move to the Mets?
Yes.
So Stroman's been solid since the past few starts. And we talked about Cortez before. Cole seems to be in his groove. You worried at all about Luis Heel going down, or is this kind of like a precautionary thing? And I'm genuinely asking.
I think cautionary more so because you need Heel for the playoffs. I think that, I don't know. It's a good question. It's a really good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not, because I want to say cautionary, but I'm really not sure. My gut, I'm not sure.
Right.
What do you think?
Could be legit. I don't know anything about the injury. Like, I was away, I think, when they put him on, or I'd just gotten back when they put him on. So I'm not 100% sure.
Usually, I think cautionary, I think he goes. The reason I say that is I think cautionary, you go to the 10-day, and he went to the 15-day.
Well, also, they might just be like, hey, he might have to miss a start. Let's just throw him on there, save 2 weeks of innings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Save 3 starts there, whatever it is.
Who do you think, if he's healthy, who do you think is the Yankees' 4-man playoff rotation? It's
Cole?
difficult because Stroman is going to make the roster, but Stroman's not good enough to be in the rotation, and he's also not good enough to be in the bullpen.
Nah,
Clark
Stroman's
Schmidt,
my long man.
yeah, so Clark Schmidt is a guy that I think would go to the bullpen after missing so much time, but you don't have a lefty reliever. So Nestor has seemed to be that lefty reliever guy. Now he's a top 3 pitcher on your staff. Rodon is one of those money issues. You're paying him so much to come out of the bullpen in lower leverage spots in the playoffs that, as much as it shouldn't matter, could be a reason why he's a starting 4 guy. So you have 5 candidates that I really like, and obviously Cole's a lock. I think Heel, when healthy, is a lock to start in the playoffs. And then you have the other 3 that I really like are not I really like, but the other 3 that I think are in healthy contention for it are Nestor, Schmidt, and Rodon.
Yeah, so I think you can get a lot of use out of Cortez in the bullpen as being a 2 or 3 inning reliever, kind of that Nationals model. When they would bring Corbin out, or whatever, or bring, obviously they brought Scherzer out of the bullpen a lot too. So I think Nestor even with the way he's pitched, I still feel good about moving him there because it's not a demotion. It is a demotion, but it's really not because you're going to be using him in such high leverage situations and probably for multiple innings. So I would still lean on, and also if I had to choose a guy to go into the bullpen, Rodon or Cortez, take money out of it, I would choose Nestor to go. I just feel like he'd be more comfortable there.
Yes.
I think it would screw with Carlos's head too much.
Yep.
So that's number 1. Number 2, I really hope they could get Clark Schmidt back for a little bit here. I don't know exactly when he's coming back. I should know that because he's on my fantasy team, and I'm excited for him to come back. But if they could get him going for like 2 or 3 weeks and maybe he's stretched out a little bit, I'd like to see him in the rotation because I feel like Luis Heel would also be a late inning, 8-9 inning guy in the bullpen if you could move him there.
Yes. I'm looking at Clark Schmidt set to make his second rehab start on Wednesday.
He's probably still 2 weeks away, so it would have to be Schmidt probably to the bullpen if he's even on the roster.
And if you have Stroman and Schmidt in the pen and you have to go, it would be Cole, Heel, Rodon, Nestor as the 4. If Stroman and Schmidt went to the pen, but you could 3-man rotation that and take the risk of your 4th guy in the ALCS is going to be one of the other 3 that are in the pen. So you always will have one guy that can start that's in your bullpen.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad
guy.
problem to have.
No. But does it screw like mentally with them? You know what I mean? Like it's not an easy transition either way.
I think the only guy that can pull off the transition is Nestor.
So do I. Where day, one series, he's out of the pen, he's out of the pen, and then Boone comes to him, hey, we need you to start a game here.
Yes. I think that he would be the only guy because Schmidt, I think, could do it if he had the full season to do it. Stroman cannot do it. He's got to be one or the other, I think.
He's your long man. And
he's your long man in lower leverage, too, because I don't think Stroman can come out of the pen in a 2-run game, 1-run game.
Yeah, but you're not to bring up a money thing, but like this is a guy that started games for you throughout the regular season. In total, started a couple of big regular season games for you. You're in the playoffs. Your pitcher's knocked out early, but it's a 5-5 game in the 4th inning. Don't you have to go to Stroman? Like, who are you going to go to?
You do.
That's a high leverage spot. I'm not saying you bring him in a 5-5 game in the 8th inning, but it's the 4th or 5th inning. We need a few here to eat. Let's go and put Stroman in there for a few innings. You have to. You have to trust him.
You have to. You do have to. And They don't have anyone else that could really do it. You got to keep your bullpen for also rest in peace Tonkin. Good
Yeah,
service
what the
to us.
hell? What's with that?
He was definitely the right DFA out of the group.
Elite guy, dude. Elite.
We'll see who picks him up. A playoff team should pick him up.
The Braves will pick him up, and he'll be just as good, if not better.
He'll be a stud.
If the Mets picked him up, he would be 2019 Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, he would be. Mets don't do well with that. The Mets actually already picked him up twice this year, Mike, and he was 2019 Edwin Diaz. I don't know if you knew that.
He stunk. He's not good.
He was horrible. Either way, so Yankees have decisions to make. Yankees have a lot of decisions to make for the playoffs, but first they got to get there. They got to see who they're going to be playing. Another team that has to get to the playoffs, Mike, is the Mets, who the last few weeks they're feeling like another one of those Guardians situations where it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. The Guardians, obviously, we said for the World Series were turned off, but last episode, I was fired up at Mets playoffs. And now, with the way Atlanta's playing and San Diego and Arizona have too much ground, it feels like the Mets 3 games back of the Braves are going to struggle to get there.
Atlanta's going to cool off. That's the one thing I'll say.
All right.
Atlanta is going to cool off, and the Mets are due to go on another winning streak. Listen, Kevin, for a month now, and there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. The Mets have kind of stabilized. Look at some of the best teams in the league. I mean, the Phillies are like 10 games under 500 since June 9th. Okay, over the last month and a half, after the Mets really going on a big-time run and pulling themselves back in 15, 20 games over 500 over a month and a half, 2-month span, like the Mets have stabilized and they've just been a 500 team for a little while. And that's fine. But they now need one of those winning streaks where, they win 7 out of 9, 7 out of 8, whatever it is. Because they do need to catch some ground on Atlanta. Atlanta's in the middle of that right now. Atlanta is in the middle of, a great stretch here. I think they've won 6 out of 7 or something like that. So the Mets are due for that. Atlanta's due to kind of cool down. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I'm saying I think it'll be closer in a week or two. And the Mets have a big series here against Arizona because, again, Atlanta is hot. So you got to continue to win with them. That game on Sunday afternoon is a killer because you bring in your 2 best relievers after Quintana, who's been terrible, gives you 6 1/3. You bring in your 2 best guys up 2-0. Atlanta loses, a team ahead of you, you're playing. You kind of got to win that game. And, if you told me they split in San Diego before the series started, I would have signed on the dotted line, but I wouldn't have signed on the dotted line for the way they lost on Sunday.
Sunday's loss was bad. That was one of the worst losses of the Mets year, I thought, where, it wasn't literally, I think, so many things went wrong. We got killed type of loss. It was just a disheartening loss on Sunday. They needed that win. We talked about it last week, how difficult that the next 10 games or so were going to be for the Mets. So you split with the Padres, fine, but now you're in Arizona for the next 3 days, and life doesn't get easier. I think Arizona might be the best team in the league right now, the way that they've played. Obviously trying to make another run to the World Series this year. And I feel like you gotta take 2 games here.
Yeah, they're on a 6-game winning streak right now. Did not know that before just now.
Yeah.
That's a good team. And yeah, you gotta win 2 out of 3. You gotta keep taking series. Again, I said going into this trip here, like go 4-3 over these next 7 games against the teams in front of you. Just survive. These are really good teams. And they're 2-2. So go 2-1 here and then go to Chicago, and I'll hold my breath because how the Mets are against bad teams. I'm scared for that Chicago series. Like, what can happen in Chicago that weekend, right? Like, what can happen this weekend.
I do. I was just going to
say, they could end their season this weekend in Chicago.
6 games against the Sox. Really, I mean, look at the next 12 games. 3 games against Chicago, 3 games against Boston, 3 games against Cincinnati, and then 3 against Toronto. The only ones on the road are the 3 against Toronto. 8-4?
And Chicago. No, you gotta.
Chicago's road also, yeah.
You gotta.
8-4 is. I was gonna say 8-4 is the worst you can do there.
Yeah, if you want to make the playoffs and Atlanta is still winning, you're 3 games back of them, you have to possibly do better than that.
Then what's Atlanta's schedule look like?
They're in Minnesota right now. Did you count 8-4 against Arizona too, or no?
No.
Yeah, all
Just
right.
the 12 games after
Yeah,
that.
right,
And you know what?
yeah.
Arizona goes. I'm saying you got to go 2-1 in Arizona. Tough task. 6-game win streak. Best team in the National League right now. They are just rolling along. You got to go and take 2 out of 3. So the Mets over the next 15 games, we're sitting here saying you got to go 11-4.
Yeah.
That's a tall task. But you get to September, you want to be in the playoffs, you got to beat bad teams. And after Arizona, they have 12 games against bad teams.
Yep.
Including a Chicago team that's just horrible, one of the worst teams in Major League history. You have a Toronto team on the back end of that stint where they're just dead. All year they've been dead, and a Boston team who has had such a free fall, as we mentioned earlier. And your bet is on the line in that series. $50 on the line,
That's
season
huge.
long. Could be double or nothing between the Patriots and Giants this year. We're not sure.
We'll
but
take that.
You have this road trip where you not road trip. You have this stretch of 15 games where we want to see 11-4.
And I can't express this enough. I'm petrified of this weekend. I mean, petrified of this Chicago White Sox series. I think I'm more scared to play the White Sox than I am this red hot Diamondbacks team, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
It does. It absolutely does. Because when the Yankees played the White Sox 2 weeks ago, I had the same exact feeling. Their series prior was the Phillies, and then they played the White Sox. I think there was one series in between, but they played the Phillies, and then they played the White Sox within a week. And I said, I'm much more fearful of that White Sox series. And they were on that 22-game losing streak, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I said, that series freaks me out in Chicago more than this series in Philly.
We know how the Mets play against bad teams. That's all I'm going to say. So I feel like the Mets were really up for this series this weekend. Like you could see the energy that they played with, especially in the wins. Like they looked energized, motivated, and like they knew this was a huge stretch. And hopefully they have that same vibe going into Chicago. I know they'll have it in Arizona because, again, this is the top team in the National League wild card right now. They're going to be up for it. But, yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. And, Kevin, I got to say this. Like, a guy that's not getting enough recognition, it's not Lindor, because I think he's finally getting the deserved recognition of being an MVP candidate and a real one. I'm not saying this guy's an MVP candidate at all, but like, can we start putting some more respect, like nationally, on Mark Vientos' name? I mean, the season that this guy is having is one of the more shocking seasons I have seen as a Mets fan in a very long time. We've been talking
about Vientos a good amount this year. I don't think as much as we should be. I agree with that. And the MLB posted a video the other day of Vientos, the home run at San Diego.
Yeah.
And his slash line was included in the comments. It was like Vientos over the last 60 games or something. And we know the numbers are ridiculous. And every comment, I didn't know this guy was that good. Where did he come from?
Yeah.
No national attention on him at all. And hardly enough on Lindor, because we post that Lindor MVP clip. Go check it out on TikTok. Really great discussions going on in the comments. We've gotten a lot of love on that one. And you have the Mets fans who come in and you have comments like, you guys know ball. This is good take. Lindor will definitely finish second. And then you have fans from every other team in the league. Horrible take. Lindor sucks. The national attention on the Mets is a zero. And it's not because they're not a contender. They're as much of a contender as the Braves or as the Padres or the Diamondbacks, any of those wild card teams. However, I think the MLB has just done a bad job this year when it comes to spreading the attention away from Ohtani and Judge. And so,
yeah. Well, in terms of shocking seasons as well, and this doesn't deserve like national attention by any means, but like, and I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I haven't seen a more shocking turnaround as a Met fan in two guys, actually. I was trying to think of the other guy. and that's David Peterson. Like,
Great. He has been great.
it's been unreal. And he hasn't been pitching like a true ace, so I can't really give you the comparison, but like, and I saw this on Twitter, I forget who tweeted it, but they needed somebody to like fill a major void when Senga went down. They needed somebody to step up. And maybe it was just step up and give them legitimate innings. David Peterson has done that. His last 2 outings, he's gone 7 innings and 7 1/3. He was unfreaking believable Saturday night. And I said this to a bunch of people. Saturday night was a really important game because Quintana was pitching Sunday and he hasn't been good in the last month or so. So you kind of expected a loss there. And he wasn't the reason why they lost. But they needed Saturday. And David Peterson had been so good. It was like, good lineup. We know how this guy is. It wouldn't shock anybody if he had a dud here. Finally had that one dud start because he really hasn't had it. And he had the best start of his, maybe of his life. In the biggest game he's ever started in his career, he had one of the better starts.
The turning point was the first game of the Subway Series when he was pitching and the Yankees loaded the bases in the first inning, no outs, and didn't score. And since then, Peterson lights out.
Lights out. He struck
lights
the next 3 guys out.
Since then.
Gabe's
calling you out on Instagram for being the biggest Vientos hater of all time.
I was a huge Vientos hater. I have to admit that. I will take full blame for that. Vientos is a quadruple A player. I didn't trust him. I didn't want him on this team. I would have traded him for a bag of baseballs. Really, I was out on him. That's why, for me, the turnaround is so shocking. It's so shocking.
And you got to feel good about the future with Vientos. I think you have to feel good about it with Alvarez. We've both been skeptical of him because I think our expectations are so high for him, and we've not been haters of Alvarez by any means. We've tried to really hammer that home. You've turned into one because he looks like you.
Yeah,
we thought that was working for him, but it's actually the reason you hate him.
Well, it might be working for him in other ways, but at the plate, it's not right now.
No, but you got to feel good about the fact that you at least know you have one really good hitter in this, and I think you don't have to worry about your DH position for a very long time because this guy should be that.
So, you know what? I forget what made me kind of flip on this, but I was just thinking a couple of days ago, just give it time. He's so young, and it's same thing goes for Volpe. They're such young players, probably called up too early, definitely called up too early, should have been sent down at some point. Mets couldn't in 23 because of injury. Yankees didn't for whatever reason Cashman wants to give. They probably should have went back down in 23. Doesn't matter. I'm now going to preach patient. And nothing really changed because he still stunk, especially after the walk-off homer he hit last week. But nothing's changed. I'm just going to preach patience. It's going to be fine. He's going to be a good player.
There you go.
I'm going to have a little positivity here. Little positivity.
Look at you.
It's pissing me the hell off that every time he comes up in a big spot, he doesn't get a hit. I'd hit him 8th, but he'll be fine. Going forward, he'll be fine. This year stinks.
You've turned such a new leaf. How about Beatty? You've been there with patience?
No, he stinks. He stinks. He'll never be good. And I hope the same thing happens where, he turns into a great player. He doesn't have a spot. I don't really think he has a spot because Mauricio's going to come back, and I like Mauricio. So you let Alonso walk, fat ass can walk, and then you put Vientos at first, and then you go Beatty at third. I mean, Ronnie at third. Unless you move Ronnie to second.
You know the website, Spotrac or Spotrac, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
The salary cap website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quickly looking at. By the way, they should also hire me because I posted the CeeDee Lamb contract projection the other day and was right on the money, 4 for 136.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, CeeDee Lamb, for becoming a very rich man. They have Pete Alonso market value and projected contract at 7 years, $206 million. No way.
Goodbye.
No way he gets a 7-year deal.
Goodbye.
Not a chance.
He
And
can
the statistical
he can get a
comparisons,
7-year deal. He's not going to get 200 million.
that's $29.5 million a year. And the comparable players that they have based on age, and I think for the record, Spotrac does a great job with their market value assessments, and they were $1 million off on CeeDee Lamb. Like they have done it, they've done it to a terrific job in every sport with their contract projections. But they're comparing his contract here to Nolan Arenado, Anthony Rendon, Aaron Judge, and Matt Olson. Matt Olson and Arenado, 27 years old when they signed 8-year deals. Judge just won the MVP and broke the American League home run record while also hitting over 300. And Anthony Rendon was an MVP finalist when he got signed at 30.
Yeah.
So how do you take those contracts and think Alonso can hold a candle to those guys at the time they were signed?
No, he's not. I understand like the way the Rendon contract has gone, but you got to view it from right when he signed it. And yeah, Alonso was never one of those guys. Never. As good as he's been.
The statistical comparisons are with the same players, Arenado, Rendon, Judge, and Olson. Now, Mike, you tell me, at the time of the signing, nobody thought, and this is objective. This is not us just saying this now. Nobody would have said Alonso is better than Judge at the time of the signing.
No.
Nobody would say this Alonso is better than Arenado at the time of his signing with St. Louis. Rendon, I loved Rendon. I actually overrated Rendon, but I there's no way I would have, if this Alonso was a free agent and that Rendon was a free agent, even knowing how the Rendon contract's playing out now, I'm taking that out of my view.
Yeah.
I would have signed Rendon.
Right.
Matt Olson is one where...
No, it's not close. It's Olson.
But Olson, at the time when they got him from Oakland, I needed to see more. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Where that's why I think it was close, because I would have needed to see more. But defensively, you knew what you were getting, and age being 4 years younger, you know that that's a better contract. So
you're also buying Alonso
getting a good deal at all. I think he's going to be a very disappointed free agent.
This is Alonso at his absolute lowest worth. Alonso's never been worse in his career than he is this season. Maybe last year you could make the argument, okay, but this is the last 2 seasons have been Alonso's 2 worst years of his career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be very disappointing, and I don't know if he opts to sign a 1-year contract and hope that he next year is better than he was in the last 2 seasons. I don't know if that's possible, but listen, he's been better the past few weeks, really since the All-Star break. Like, he has been a better hitter, but the numbers just aren't, like, his total numbers aren't showing that yet. He's still under an 800 OPS.
No, they're not. I think he's going to end up in the AL East somewhere. I think he's going to end up in Boston for some reason. I thought that for so long. Maybe Chicago.
Chicago's always been linked to him.
They've always been linked, and it does make sense. But I think Boston's going to end up with Alonso because I can see him succeeding at Fenway big time as a designated hitter, and they could use the power bat in the middle of their order. But I don't know, man. I think the real reason I say Boston is because I feel like they are bargain shopping for free agents now, and he's a guy with high upside that you can get for a rational contract.
Right.
So it'll be a team-friendly deal that Boston can jump on. I know that they have Casas at first base, but they need a true DH, and Alonso could definitely be that middle-of-the-order power righty that they've been lacking for a few years. And I could see Alonso having a massive year with the Red Sox.
I wonder, but on a 1-year contract, correct?
No, it would be like a 4 or 5 year deal.
It's not gonna be good. I almost feel bad for him. He should have accepted the
4 or
extension
5
they
for like
offered him.
110. Kind of. It reminds me a lot of DJ LeMahieu's free agency. That's what I'm expecting this to be like, where a guy was expecting so much out of his free agency, and he ended up getting roughly $100 million for 5 or 6 years.
Second.
Yeah.
On a call. Yeah, it's I don't think that he gets what he was offered in the offseason, which was like
he should have taken that.
150. But let me ask you, would have you taken that deal in the offseason?
No. But now in hindsight, I'm saying you probably I think he's going to say, I wish I took that.
Yes, but he shouldn't have done it in the offseason.
No, he should not have.
I
And that
agree
was a
with
low ball. Team was trying to get him on a friendly thing, and that was a low ball deal. I think the Mets maybe played it the same way as Cashman did the Aaron Judge situation, where we gave him a low contract for a lot of years to see if he wanted to stay. It wasn't a completely unfair low ball offer, but it was low, and we're going to make that public. And now we're going to see how he does this year to try and earn that contract. One guy had a top 5 season in the history of baseball. The other guy is having the worst season of his career.
Did you see Passan's article this morning about he's talking about Soto?
No.
He essentially confirmed with like high-ranking league sources and like ownership sources, whatever, that it's going to come down to the Mets and the Yankees for Juan Soto this offseason.
And this is where I stand still on that, and I expect that completely. I don't think there's another team in the league that's going to jump in on this, but I think the Mets have a lot of holes they need to fill, more than the Yankees do. Not that the Yankees don't have holes to fill, but the Yankees' priority is going to be Soto. And Stearns is going to sit there and say, well, I want to get Burns. I want to get another high-caliber bat. I don't want to sit here and act like Soto's our number one missing piece that puts us over the top, And I think Soto's having this career year, and that could freak a team out in free agency with money. And I want to ask you this, because this is how I feel about Steve Cohen. I think Steve Cohen can spend as much money as he wants, but I think he does it smart. I have not seen the Mets give a contract that at the time was stupid and just a wild, gross overpay.
Yeah. I mean, the Lindor contract at times looked like it, but at this point, I mean, you really look at the numbers, like Fangraphs will tell you he's underpaid. So, yeah, I would agree with that. I also think, like, I remember reading articles about Steve Cohen and how, he wants the top of the line people, products, he's an art collector. He wants, to be at the top. And, Ohtani made a lot of sense because Ohtani was one of a kind. And, he was the top jewel in sports. I mean, nobody does what he does. So, like, if Ohtani was available to Steve Cohen, because by all accounts he wasn't, he didn't want to be here, then that would have made sense and you would have expected that overpay. Now, I'm not talking bad on Juan Soto here. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's a generational hitter. Now, he's not Aaron Judge, but he's a generational hitter, and for the next 10 years, he could, we're going to be talking about him as the best player in baseball, right? The best hitter in baseball. But does it make sense to give this one guy $500 million? He doesn't really play a great defense. He's not a great base runner. He doesn't kill you with speed. At the end of the day, you need to seriously look at your needs and look at what's best for your organization. And I completely agree. You go out and you get that ace that you don't have, and I don't think is coming up anytime soon. Go get that ace, that front of the line starter. Go get that right fielder that can hit you 25, 30 home runs and hit 270, 280, and he's only costing $150 million. There are so many other needs on this team, like you said, where I'm like, I'm good. As much as I love Soto, he's one of my favorite players in the game. I'm good.
I think with Soto also, I'm going to play positive, can really elevate your team to the next level. Just imagine a top 3 next year of Lindor, Soto, Vientos. The handedness works out wonderfully. 3 really good talents. Soto and Lindor will be the most productive leadoff and second hitter in the league in a very long time. So that is where I could see them saying, yeah, we got to get this guy and we can eat the money for it. But I also it comes back to my core belief that the Yankees won't lose him.
Yeah.
The Yankees will go to whatever number they need to make sure he stays, because I have not turned on a Yankee home game this year where there's an empty seat. I haven't. We had a full stadium chanting "Re-sign Soto" the other day. And he's out there with Judge, and the two of them have the biggest smiles on, just looking at each other laughing after. We didn't even talk about this, the moment on Sunday, Soto, Judge, Stanton. This is a moment that I think Yankee fans are going to be playing for a really long time. So Soto, they're not going to lose. That's why it's difficult for me to imagine Steve Cohen, which this is basically what I was trying to say before. Steve Cohen, who's not David Tepper, he's not an idiot owner with money. Yeah. I think Steve Cohen is a smart owner, and he really wants to do what's best for the team, not is what's best for a headline in the paper. So Cohen has the money to spend. He's smart, and I don't think he's going to be played by Soto and Boras so that Soto can get the biggest deal from the Yankees. And then he looks like a fool.
And then, if you end up with Corbin Burns, the best starting pitcher possibly to hit the market since Garrett Cole, and, Anthony Santander, you didn't lose an offseason. You won an offseason there, right? And you filled out the rest of your needs. That is winning in a lot of senses.
Who is the second best free agent pitcher?
It's a loaded class. Loaded.
I want to look because I'm going to give you two options here. Here's how future free agent classes look. All right, so I can give you an option. You can get Burns and Santander, or you can get, Fried might be too good, but Fried. Walker Buehler, who hasn't pitched in a few years, you can get Walker Buehler and Soto for a little bit more money. Or maybe Evaldi. Let's do this. Evaldi, if he opts out, Evaldi and Soto for less for as much money.
Yeah, I'm good.
You'd rather have Burns and Santander.
I'd rather have Burns and Santander.
So 100%. I think the ace is just so much more valuable.
Well, for the Mets, not necessarily in general, for the Mets, it makes more sense to go get the ace.
You also have to realize here, Yankee fans, that Cole's going to opt out. He's going to opt out and I think negotiate with nobody else.
Yes.
But he's going to opt out, so the Yankees do have that lingering where they're going to be giving out another couple $100 million to Garrett Cole.
Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about that.
It's not going to be much more guaranteed money. You're right. It's going to be 20 to 30 more million on top of what you already owe.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be because nobody talks about it because it's one of those unspoken things where we know Cole's opting out to re-sign with the Yankees. He's not opting out to test the market.
Yeah,
but that is something the Yankees have to handle because if you tell Cole, hey, we're busy signing Soto for 2.5 months, then Cole's going to say, oh, well, I have no contract right now. So I am going to go test the market because I've been sitting here for 6 weeks waiting for you to negotiate with me. All right, let's bounce the trivia here, and then we'll finish up back around the league. You're up today for the question on trivia.
Yeah, so this is an Aaron Judge-related question. There are 3 guys in MLB history since 1900 to have a higher OPS plus than Aaron Judge at the moment right now. So since the 1900s, MLB history, 3 guys. They've all done it multiple times. You don't have to tell me how many times they did it, but can you tell me the 3 names, the guys in MLB history that have a higher OPS plus than Aaron Judge?
Bonds.
Bonds is one of them.
Ruth
is one of them.
Gehrig.
Not Gehrig.
Bonds, Ruth. Ted Williams.
Bonds did it 1, 2, 3 times. Ruth did it 1, 2, 3 times. And Ted Williams did it twice, all higher than Aaron Judge. And then there's a couple of seasons where Judge actually has a higher OPS plus than Ruth. And Mantle and Gehrig.
I mean, that shows you it's a good trivia question today because it's actually an easy one with the names because it shows you how elite this season is.
So let's give you the numbers here. So Bonds had a 268 OPS plus, 263 and 259. Ruth in one of the years had a 255. Then the other 239 each. Ted Williams had 235 and 233. Bonds, another one actually 4 times, 231. And then Aaron Judge this season, 229 OPS plus.
Man.
Unreal. Absolutely
And
unreal.
that's going to climb still. So
It could still climb.
he's got 5 weeks left to continue pushing that up.
He could pass.
The play he made last night, we didn't talk about it.
No, he didn't.
But the play he made last night, I can almost confidently say he's the only player in Major League Baseball history who could make that catch. And forget the double play. Willie Mays maybe could also do it. Didn't get to see him play. Maybe Trout in his prime was able to do that. But Judge, this is ridiculous. The fact that, and this is what puts him over Bonds and Ruth for me, because right now in Pujols, Judge is making a play defensively, and he has a value of defense that none of those guys could match.
Yeah, his center field right now, because Bonds at one point, yeah, but he wasn't putting up these offensive numbers.
Yes.
Then Bonds, obviously, we know what happens. But yeah, it's remarkable. Like I was at Miller's Ale House last night, and I'm watching, and my buddy and I just said he just robbed somebody of a home run and doubled them up. Like it was like there aren't many words right now to say. Somebody asked me the other day, they were like, from an outsider's perspective, not being a Yankee fan, like what do you think of Judge? Like what is your opinion? And it's kind of just like, oh my, it's just an oh my God, like it's kind of like a speechless, because you know how good he was, how good he was his rookie year, the season he had in 22, but it's still shocking to see a guy at this level. Like it is shocking to see how elite this guy is.
And now you see a lot of people on social media saying he's doing steroids, and a lot of people are really getting fired up about that topic, anti-Yankee people.
Right.
Because, and you know what? Maybe he is, because I don't think he is, but I'm not going to rule anything out. We're at a point where he's doing things that only players who have taken steroids have done since Babe Ruth did them at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what to think of this guy. He's ridiculous.
Aaron Judge is close to even money to hit a home run against Patrick Corbin tonight.
Oh my God.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
He is the best athlete I think I've ever seen. 21 years old. So really since 2009, but I love Pujols. So count Pujols prime because I've watched so many clips. Judge is the best athlete, not just baseball player, but the level that he's doing this at in single seasons is better than stuff that LeBron had done in single seasons. I'm not talking about for a 20-year stretch, but just in the prime, he's so far above and beyond everyone. And then on the other side of the league, I say that, and then I look at the other side of the league, and you have Ohtani's going to do a 50-50 this year.
Yeah, the one thing, like, I can't say that. Now, I understand the value of Judge's defense, and I also understand the value of Ohtani being, a frontline starter. But so, like, I hate the fact that, like, even when Judge was like going for the MVP in 22, and people were saying Ohtani should still technically win, like, Judge is playing such an elite defense in the outfield. It closes the gap a little bit with the pitching and the fielding.
And I also
it's just remarkable what Ohtani's able to do, but I also compare the same thing to Judge. Like he shouldn't be this good of a defensive player, and yet he is.
And then you look at walks in Major League Baseball. Soto's at 109, leads the league. Judge is at 107. Ohtani is at 69. Right. The only guy in between them is Schwarber at 91. But that's incredible. A 40 walk gap between Ohtani and Judge, and then Soto's 2 more than Judge. It's a ridiculous season, Mike. It's tough to even put into perspective, but I'm going to throw this out there now, and I've never said this. If Judge, I think he's going to break the AL home run record again.
Yeah, I do too.
I've said that. I think he's pacing to get back to it. And he's having, even if he doesn't break it, this is a better season than 2022.
Agreed.
None of it matters if he lays another egg in the playoffs.
Yeah, he can't. Even if they lose, right? They lose in the ALCS. He can't be the reason why. Like, we can't look back and say, oh, he hit 230 and he had like 2 home runs in 10 games. Yes, you're right about that. He has to have a good postseason.
He is in Clayton Kershaw territory where he's the most important player on an annual top team in baseball and a big market, big spending team. He's the most important guy. And if he lays another egg in the postseason, Mike, I can't sit here and continue to celebrate his year.
And it's also very similar to that too, because Kershaw at a point was, obviously easily the best pitcher in baseball and played for a premier team and got compared to legends on the team that he played for, like Sandy Koufax, comparing him to some of the greatest pitchers to ever play. So yeah, that's a very good comparison, because Kershaw really laid a lot of eggs in those postseason games, and Judge needs a good postseason. He needs to be the reason why they win a series.
And in 2020,
I also think they're going to pitch. They're not going to pitch to him. They are not going to pitch to him.
I think he's going to get challenged still a little bit because Soto is good in the playoffs, and that's the guy that I think is not going to get pitched to more than Judge in the postseason, because teams are going to say,
then I think,
look at this guy's history in the playoffs and look at this guy's history when he's in pressure situations. We'll take our chances with him over Soto.
Yeah, but I also then I think he's going to have a good postseason. Like, even though he did take a stinker in 22 after the historic year, like, I think he's just on another level at the moment where no matter what's happening, no matter what time of the year I think he's going to have that good run.
He also does get walked a lot in the playoffs. If you look at some of his playoff games, playoff stats, he has some playoff runs where they go deep into the ALCS, and so they'll play about 10, 11 games, and his final line, he'll be like 0 for 11 because he walked so much.
Right.
Or he'll be 2 for 12 or something, and he's got like 9 walks, 10 walks. It's going to be the storyline of the playoffs. Can Judge get this team over the hump? Mike, if Soto and Judge are hitting in the playoffs and the Yankees lineup is as healthy as it is today, so you have Stanton, you have Wells, you have Torres, you have Volpe, Chisholm, those guys are all playing, that team's going to go to the World Series.
It's going to be tough.
If Judge is performing the way he should be.
It's going to be tough to beat this team. It's going to be,
but that's
really
a big if, because he's never done it. All right, anything else today?
No, I got nothing today. I do think that's a real possibility. With the way this guy's hitting, it's almost impossible to say, oh, no, it's going to stop.
Yeah, and with Soto in front of him, that's the difference from past years.
Yeah.
He has an MVP protecting him in front of him, and he has a good pair of hitters behind him in Wells and Stanton.
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap. Boroughs episode 17. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're on Spotify, remember you can come live and comment, get involved in the show every Tuesday at 11. If we do make a change to the scheduling of this program, then just be on the lookout. It will be on the Instagram story. We'll make it known before the next show as well. Hardline, Mike, do you want to talk about the new changes to the Hardline quick?
We're going to announce those probably this week, so we'll have those out on our social medias. But very excited for them. Very excited.
So keep an eye out for that. And then we also have the Sunday recap. We'll be back. I think we'll just do first show week 1 Sunday.
Yeah.
No preview show or anything. We'll leave those to the Hardline. I'll do my previews with the Bunker. I've already done division previews that you can check out. Make sure to follow the playbook. That's everything going on with BTO Media right now before we get underway for what should be a big, busy fall this year. Appreciate the support throughout the summer. We will see you next week. Kevin Bunk, Mike Merlo signing off. Thanks for watching.